What's the most calculated act of revenge you've ever witnessed? I was the lead detective on the case. We arrested a man named David, a local high school teacher and volunteer firefighter, for vandalizing our town's war memorial. The evidence was undeniable. We had crystal-clear footage from a security camera across the street showing a man who looked exactly like him spray-painting obscenities all over it. The community was in an uproar. David was the town's golden boy. He'd coached Little League for 15 years. He swore up and down it wasn't him, but the video was damning. His life fell apart overnight. He was suspended from his job, his wife left him, and people he'd known his whole life would cross the street to avoid him. I felt bad for the guy, but my job is to follow the evidence. David didn't just sit there and take it, though. He was methodical. He told me during the interrogation, "Someone set me up and I'm going to prove it." He started by trying to establish an alibi, but the vandalism happened at 2 in the morning. He lived alone, so no one could vouch for him. The first crack in the case came from David himself. He was a tech hobbyist and asked to see the raw video file, not just the clip we showed him. He spent days analyzing it. He found what he was looking for, a single frame where the digital timestamp glitched. It was almost imperceptible, but it was proof the video had been edited. That wasn't enough to clear him, but it was enough for me to listen. He told me he suspected his neighbor, a man named Frank. They'd had a long-standing rivalry over a piece of property bordering their yards. Frank was the one who discovered the vandalism and called it in. David's plan was meticulous. He knew Frank was watching him. He announced to a few neighbors that he was going out of town for the weekend to visit his sister, making sure Frank would overhear. He packed a bag, got in his car, and drove off. But he only went as far as the next town over. He rented a car and circled back after dark, parking a few streets away and sneaking into his own backyard. He'd bought a new motion-activated wildlife camera and hidden it in a tree overlooking his own house and Frank's yard. He waited. For 2 nights, nothing happened. On the 3rd night, just before dawn, the camera caught it. Frank, wearing a dark hoodie, crept into David's yard. He climbed a small ladder and swapped the memory card in David's own security camera, the one that had supposedly filmed him. He was replacing the real footage with another doctored file. David brought the new footage straight to me. We brought Frank in. When we showed him the video from the wildlife camera, he confessed to everything. He had hired someone who looked vaguely like David, filmed him vandalizing a replica wall in a warehouse, and then used software to deepfake David's face onto the footage. He'd been planting those edited files on David's camera for weeks. The final confrontation was brutal. We had David come to the station. Frank was in the interrogation room, crying. He looked up and saw David standing in the doorway. He just started sobbing. "I'm sorry, I was just so jealous of you. You had everything." David didn't say a word. He just turned around and walked out. The charges were dropped and Frank was charged, but the damage was done. The town was so ashamed of how they'd treated David that they couldn't face him. The friendships he'd had for decades were just gone. He was vindicated, but he was completely alone.